-1. Arsenal getting ever so close to that massive tie against Real Madrid. I don't know about you, but the nerves are on the rise. Today, I'm joined by a fantastic guest because I currently, as you watch this, I'm on a flight to Madrid. So very much looking forward to speaking to him. Let's get on with it. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is our Arsenal news show. Joining every single morning at 8 a.m. Not live with you this morning. Sorry, apologies. I'm being selfish and decided to hop on a plane instead. But I am very happy and for the unselfishness of the time that is being allowed to us this morning by Mr. James B. How you doing, mate? You good? You well?
I'm good. I'm nervous. I've got a bit of hay fever, so sorry if I sound a bit nasally. And also, I don't think I said this.
got stuck in that intro. Did you see before my voice nearly went entirely? I was like, this is the worst time for my voice. And I think the hay fever is getting to me too. So I feel your pain.
Well, I didn't clock because actually, I was about to say, I think you've got the best intro in the Arsenal media space, to be fair. I don't know if I've ever told you that before, but the graphic, there's quality. I know you've had that for a little while, so I don't know why I haven't mentioned it till now. But yeah, I sound a bit bunged up, and it's April football. I think it's hay fever mixed with stress of supporting this football club. So there we go.
Yes. Yeah, stress. We were just talking off air, weren't we, about kind of how our nerves are about the weekend, or the week, rather. Keep saying the weekends. It's more important than any weekend game this season, that's for sure. Madrid, because Arsenal go there not with just one goal, not even just two, but instead they've managed to I still can't believe it as I say it, managed to get themselves a 3-goal lead going into this almighty tie against Los Blancos. James, I want to get some reaction, of course, first before we look ahead to your reaction from the game, of course, last week, which was just magical. That's it. I'm just giving you.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
The way you said that, I was like,
no, that was just set up. Have you done a podcast before?
Well, you did have the way you said that. I was like, this is so beautifully brought up. I thought you were about to.
You thought you were listening.
Yeah, because I know you like your presentation, some stats and stuff. So my bad. Anyway, sorry everyone for making this a terrible listen. That's my fault. And I just I get talked at on podcasts. I don't even bother chatting, so I'm the world's worst guest.
We'll get all the mistakes out now, so Arsenal don't make any on
That's true. Do you know what? That was the equivalent of Kivior in the first minute giving it away.
Yeah.
But we're not. I've done the mistake now, Jakob. You don't need to. So there we go. Okay, let's start with my reaction to last week. It was still just an unbelievable night. Still kind of just high off it, really. Just the energy, the nature of the goals, everything from Rice scores a free kick, but then he scores a second, but then it's a 3-0 win, but it's the European champions, and we put ourselves. It's also the kind of win that, and you really don't want to talk too far ahead because Real Madrid can do anything. It's the Bernabeu, but you can't help but start thinking, are we in a Champions League semi-final? And I won't quite have that conversation until we've done the Bernabeu, but the nature of the result makes you ask that question. It was a sensational night. As much as I'm still kind of living it and loving it a little bit, I thought a 3-0 lead would feel more comfortable than this.
It's mad, isn't it?
And I think actually I was going to ask you the question. I mean, what lead would you have needed to feel genuinely really comfortable? I'm not joking. I think 5. And I was saying in the previews up to the Emirates game, I was saying 3-0 win, I'll feel good. Absolute lie. Complete nonsense.
Yeah.
I needed 5 to have felt like, it's job done. And that's a credit to who Real Madrid are as a club, their history, and the players they got on that football pitch. It's actually not to do with Arsenal and my kind of fear of them bottling it. Real Madrid can score 3 goals against anyone. They just did it against Man City only months back. So I'm pretty wary of that. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think 5 would have had to have been. I'd have been like, yeah. I don't know if we need to cover this game. Well, just think about the semi-final.
Yeah.
But no, it is really odd. And there's been this whole week, and this is the danger of social media as well. This whole week has been my algorithms just fed me Real Madrid propaganda on their side of things, like really trying to
Yeah.
get the remontada, kind of ideals flowing and to kind of unsettle. Because if you're, all the inspiration is going to be on the Real Madrid side of things. They're the team that you'd imagine will be more emboldened than anybody to go into this game. Arsenal and their players are in a really kind of weird situation. I had a phone call actually over someone connected with the club, and they asked me how I was feeling about it, and I just said, yeah, it's weird going into a game like 1989, where you got Liverpool did, where you can go into a game knowing you can lose and still achieve what you want to achieve. And that's a really dangerous kind of feeling and sense to have, because it can put you in a false sense of security and it
Yeah.
can lead you into some pretty scary places. So my question is, how do you think Arteta is going to plan to approach this game?
Well, a lot of people will say, look at Madrid and the goals they've conceded this season and the general form. You can't just sit back and allow their attacking talent to attack you relentlessly. But I'm all for it. I have no problem with that. Doesn't mean you have no threat whatsoever. It doesn't mean you boot the ball up the pitch at any given moment. It just means be really sensible. Make it really difficult for them. If you can just sap away their confidence, let them know they're in for a really tough game. They've had those games against Diego Simeone, Atletico Madrid. Let them know they're in for one of those. And then you hope that confidence just starts to chip away. The energy goes, because they just look at Arsenal and go, wow, that is a really nasty low block they got there. That is a really, they're organised. They're winning their headers. They're not allowing any of the spaces to be played through. And I keep referencing on almost every bit of content I'm on that Sander Berger quote post the Fulham game, where he says you can't get an overload because everyone, it's like they're being controlled from someone up in the stands. And
Yeah.
if you can demoralize, and I think that sometimes that is something we overlook about Arteta's tactics. Off the ball, Sander Berger talked about it. On the ball, Ola Aina talked about it. We might think that Arsenal have been a bit less, what's the word? For want of a better word, a bit more boring this season. Obviously, injuries have played a part. A little bit less energetic compared to last season's end to the campaign and the 22-23 season. But there's clearly something about the way we play and the movement that caused Sander Berger and Ola Aina to say Arsenal could be a really nightmare to play against structurally. And I think if you can start to break down mentally Real Madrid a little bit like that, then you get a bit of a foothold in the game. And naturally, we'll then start to play because we've got good ball players. We will then start to have the bit of the ball and ping it around. Madrid aren't a 70-80% possession team. And then you hope you're a threat on the counter. So I've got no problem with the first 20 minutes being pretty uninspiring from Arsenal. But I mean, from an attacking perspective, if you're organised and you keep it sensible, I think that's a decent way to start the game. Well, what do you think, though?
Yeah, I think just get through the first 20 minutes. Like, if Arsenal can get through the first 20 minutes without conceding, I think they're in a really good position. I think if you concede in those first 20 minutes, the nerves just go through the roof, and the momentum and the noise in that ground with Madrid would be massive. So, yeah, I think and obviously the longer you keep it goalless, that's obviously a massive boost to you. So, but at the same time, we saw Arsenal, at halftime 0-0 against Madrid, and I was having a chat with James Benge in the press room, saying, if we could just hold, until full time, keep it 0-0, great, because I think being in the tie going into Los Blancos would be amazing to just still be in it. But the fact that we've now got this ridiculous lead beyond all of our imaginations, I think maybe is something that Arteta even never imagined himself when he was thinking about how to approach the whole tie, let alone the first leg. And so I think that would have ripped up kind of his own maybe feelings about what he was going to do in the second leg, and maybe even how they were preparing for the first leg. Because you know what Arteta's like. He's so meticulous. He would have been thinking about that second leg and how to approach both games going into that game at the Emirates, let alone, going into this second leg now. So I think that he will be considering kind of the role of Rice in particular as a really key part of the game. In the home leg, Rice was very aggressive. He got forward, he got into the opposition box. I think we might see him be a little bit more conservative in this game than we did in that first leg. I think he'll drop next to Partey a lot more, and we'll see more of a double pivot than we did in the first leg. And obviously, I'm looking at Jakub Kivior as the not any disrespect to him, but just he is the weak point of this kind of defensive unit at the moment. He's the
Yeah.
player, of course, that's got the least experience with these players around him. You've got a young 18-year-old next to him as well, and that kind of partnership in itself raises certain concerns. But I saw an amazing stat, and I'm sure you're aware of it. I think that Saliba and Kivior have played X amount of games together, and
Yeah.
they've never lost. And Kivior never lost or something like that. And it's a silly stat. I saw.
The Saliba one I've definitely seen. I'm not seeing the one
Yeah,
about him never losing. I feel like there's got to be a defeat in there, but
surely there was.
I think he might have been part of the Brighton home defeat. You know, the 3-0, or did he
Yes.
come on in that game? I can't remember.
Oh, here
But
we
him
go.
and
So
Saliba.
Arsenal are unbeaten in the last 19 matches that Jakub Kivior has
Wow.
started in all competitions. So the last 19 games he started.
I mean,
So
that's a pretty extraordinary stat. And sometimes I've always said, as much as I love the stats and all that, I do think it's eye test first. I do think it's first and foremost, what do you see from these players? But when you see a stat like that, you can't really ignore it. You know, there's clearly a chemistry. There's an understanding. I really like the way Saliba has risen to being the leader alongside Kivior. I think he's done a really good job of that and did that in the Real Madrid tie. I think previously Saliba's a sensational defender and arguably a better player than Gabriel, but I actually do think of the two of them, Gabriel is the leader. It's quite nice seeing Saliba kind of taking, and I think he really did against Real Madrid. He kind of took control of that. But you also make a great point, by the way. Arteta prepares for anything. Did he prepare for 3-0 up?
I don't
And
think
he's now
so.
had a week to try.
Maybe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But he probably, you know what, knowing he prepared for
Yeah.
everything,
Knowing him, he
right?
probably did.
But you know, the psychology of this, I think you can't ignore. This Arsenal team have been training with Arteta for years and years. And then, of course, whatever adaptations they had for this season, they'll be worked on it. So I don't think there'll be anything extraordinarily new and innovative from Arsenal in this game. It'll be a lot about the same repeat patterns. It'll be about focus. So it's also about psychologically. Do you say to the team, you just battered them, you played them off the park, do it again? So what if it's in a different stadium or a
Yeah.
different football pitch? You're better than them. Do it again. But football doesn't work that way. It
Yeah.
never has. We used to do everything to Stoke City at the Emirates Stadium. The minute we went there, we couldn't deal with a throw-in.
Yeah.
It was extraordinary.
Newcastle.
It's not like that throw-in then worked at the Emirates and like we lose
Yeah.
it. Yeah, football's a funny old game. I don't know how to explain it. How often until Super Mick Arteta did the North London derby always swing in favour of the home team? Always. And it's only kind of in recent years that we found that we've actually kind of somewhat got control of that derby. So that is really interesting mentally how Arsenal approach this.
Yeah. The other mental weirdness of this game is the fact that we have 4 very key players who, if they are booked, will miss if Arsenal progress the first leg of the semi-final. So you're also kind of dealing with the idea that we need to sit in and hold this 3-0 lead, or as you say, if you want to approach it in that way, and I'm very much on board the idea of, you know, in a way, having the same kind of approach, because Real Madrid are going to attack. They have to attack. They're going to open up spaces. There's going to be areas to exploit that we could absolutely use. But you've got Partey, you've got Timber, you've got Martinelli, and you've got Rice, all on 2 yellow cards. Now, just my listeners have been back and forth with me about trying to the clarification around these rules. And even when I wrote the article, having spoken to someone at UEFA to get clarification, still people were like adamant this isn't the case. So just for all, the bottom line is, if you receive 3 yellow cards before the quarterfinal completes, you will serve a 1-match suspension. That goes for 5 yellows, 7 yellows, 9 yellows throughout the league phase through to this and beyond. If they survive this game without being booked, they will have those wiped and they will be fine for the first leg of the semi. So that's how it works. The only way you can miss the second leg of a semi or the final is if you are sent off. That's the only way that you can miss those 2 games. But those 4 players, as are, I think, Vinicius Jr., Lucas Vasquez, and some others, are also vulnerable as well. Tchouaméni is back for this game for Real Madrid. He missed the first leg through suspension. Camavinga is suspended for this game. He would have been suspended anyway because of the yellow that he got in the first leg, but he got sent off anyway, so misses this match too. Which ironically I don't think means he gets 2 suspensions, because I think when you get 2 yellows, those 2 yellows become a red card. That first yellow no longer exists. That goes in the Premier League as well. So when Declan Rice got his 2 yellows against Brighton, he didn't get 2 yellows on his record. They just became a red card. So another interesting bit of trivia around suspensions.
Oh, that's really interesting. Can I jump in on that rule about
go for it.
the yellow cards and the players we have? I don't really know why football insists on adding rules that ensures we get less players on the football pitch, whether it be second yellow cards for tapping the ball away, whether it be, listen, dissent absolutely needs to be stamped out, but I think some sort of protest I don't think should be an issue.
Yeah.
And now basically, there's 8 games in the league phases. If you're Real Madrid, you've played this will be your 6th knockout game. So add that. So that's 14. This is their 14th game of the Champions League campaign. And you're asking one of their players to not pick up 3 yellow cards. I think it's ridiculous. I honestly think that the solution is something like, if at any point you go on a run of 3 yellow cards in 5 games. So if at any point in a stretch of 5 games in a row, you picked up 3 or even 2, but something like that. I mean, they keep adding games. And then at any opportunity to ensure you don't play them, they're trying to dilute the product. So I don't like that at all. But I will say also, I don't think the Arsenal players can play with that in mind. I think they just have to play to do whatever, if it's a tactical foul, you need to get, a yellow card, Rice. If it really is the right thing to do, take the yellow card, do it. I think we'll worry about this if we get to the semi-finals, but let's get ourselves there.
Yeah, the benefit Arsenal have for the semi-finals, if they make it, is they are at home in the first leg. So if they are missing a key player or two, obviously you'd hope that would counterbalance, having that first leg at home. But they are huge, huge players that Arsenal can't afford, really, no matter what, to lose. The good thing is that Rice, I think, had been in the Premier League close to a suspension at some point and managed to avoid a yellow in like 8 separate games back to back or something like that. So he's pretty good at avoiding it. I agree with you. I think these suspension rules are crazy. I think they need to be more specific. Like if you get like 3 yellows for diving, I think that should incur a suspension. If it's dissent, as you pointed out as an example, then absolutely. I think these are the type of things that need to be discouraged. But yellow cards can be given for tackles that are not yellow card challenges. And equally, yellow cards can be given when clearly a red card should have been given. It's such a broad spectrum of why a player gets a yellow these days. That it makes 0 sense why players should indeed.
And also, they really encourage it, Tom, as like part of the game, right? How often do we hear pundits go, and look, we did it in defense of Lewis Skelly, right? But that's because we're playing to everyone's rules. But when people go, it's a tactical foul, it's like a part of it's like, well, we kind of want it in the game in a weird way. It's like it's a part of the game. But you do that one too many times, and you're going to miss huge football matches. It feels really strange. You see it in tournament football as well, like national tournaments in the summer. Just feels really, really harsh. We want to be getting the best players on the pitch. So that's why I keep calling for a sin bin. I'm like, if there's a kind of thing where, I know not everyone's for it. In fact, lots of people are not. But if someone is cynical enough to bring someone down with no attempt to win the ball, I've got no problem with them taking 15 minutes off the pitch. I'd rather them do that than miss a whole semi-final and it not be as good a match because you don't have the best players. I think the rules of football can be massively looked at. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent.
No, I think it's an important point. And I think for an Arsenal perspective, we are, it adds that pressure for us. It adds that extra bit of jeopardy. And Real Madrid will be, they are the savviest team in the world and they will play on these things. So it's something we need to be very, very careful of. And having lost Jorginho, it's not like we have a player to rotate in for Partey or Rice later on in the match if we say wanted to swap one out. Really, we are lacking that obvious player. There isn't an expectation that sadly Jorginho is going to be there on Wednesday. John Cross of the Mirror reporting that earlier on Tuesday.
Which is quietly a big miss, It's quietly a big miss, I think.
Concerned because he can add you that calm, measured approach to games to help see things out. It can be a bit of a general myth. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think his experience will be an invaluable miss for us. So go on.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I really am the worst guest you've ever had.
At least you're responding now. That's a touch. So
I don't talk when I'm asked a question, and then when you're talking, I just go, yeah, all right. But actually, no, Jorginho is, I think, living proof that essentially, if you sign from Chelsea, you'll never get the respect you deserve. Because, which I kind of understand to a degree, but Havertz, there's questions because of the price tag, and I can understand that. And there are plenty of other players like Sterling or Willian it hasn't worked for. But what more could Jorginho have done? He has been the perfect squad player, 12 million, and he's come in, lifted. First, he gave us depth in the sixth position we didn't have before, and he's done it masterfully.
Mm.
And every time he set foot, I can think of one error against Tottenham. Otherwise, he's been genuinely brilliant. I mean, I feel like, and everyone, because my mum's Italian, everyone thinks I'm just doing it because he's Italian. I promise you, I didn't rate this player even when he was Italian and playing for
Yeah, yeah,
Chelsea.
yeah.
I never liked him even playing for us. I've seen him playing more for Arsenal, and I've completely changed my mind on this player. I think it's a big miss, and I think it makes the return or hopeful availability of Thomas Partey even bigger, because that's now the only player in our squad that I think, while Rice is very technical and I rate him, I think Partey is the only one that will go, okay, we just need to get on the ball for 10 minutes. Give it to me. Let's keep it moving. I think Jorginho would have added that a little bit. But also allowed us to keep Marino up front. Now that's maybe not looking like an option.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens and the selection that Arteta goes for. He'll be facing the press, of course, this evening on Tuesday. Inside the Bernabeu, I'll be there if you want to follow the updates, and that, of course, you can do so on the Football.London website. I'm going to be really mean now and start asking about predictions, James, because
Ooh.
and kind of how we feel the game is going to go. Firstly, like, where is the game going to be if it is going to be lost? Where is it going to be lost for Arsenal?
I really believe. I'm not sitting here thinking, yeah, we're definitely through. It's all done.
Mm.
But I really believe in the team that if we don't go through, which will be a disaster in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, it will be because of Madrid's quality. I do believe that. I think, I have seen them 2-0 down on aggregate with 20 minutes to go against PSG and score 3 goals like that, or needing 2 goals just to take it to extra time against Man City, and they've pulled it out in the 91st, 93rd minute, whatever it might be. I've seen them, Chelsea, I think they won at the Bridge 3-1, and Tuchel's Chelsea were 3-0 up at the Bernabeu. I mean, the
Mm.
statement of all statements, so unfazed, they score 2 and they go through. I mean, they are exceptional, Real Madrid, at actually blocking out the noise and just letting their talent speak for itself. And I think at the Emirates, that was a real demonstration of talent's not enough, because
Mm.
hard work and a real tactical plan and identity totally blew them away. But we're now not at the Emirates. We're now at the Bernabeu, and crazy things happen there. So I think if the game is to be lost, it is because of Bellingham, Modric, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Mbappe, Gooner, Diaz, Valverde, Chouameni. How many names do you want? How many world class players have I just said in that? Maybe
Yeah.
6 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very aware of what they can do. Did you want my prediction? I can't remember. Sorry, did you?
Yeah, and just the other
Yeah.
comeback, obviously, they were losing last season in the semi-final to Bayern Munich 1-0 in the 87th minute,
Yeah.
and Joselu scored
Yeah.
twice to see them go through. Like that, that's the aura
Forgot
of what
about
we're up
that.
against. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a really because it's recent. Like, we think of the Real Madrid comebacks, you think of the Ronaldo, the Benzemas, the Ramoses, those
Yeah.
players doing it, but they did it last season against a very, very good Bayern Munich side, of course, that knocked us out
Yeah.
from the competition. So
Yeah. You're
yeah,
right.
they don't have Joselu, but they do
Yeah.
have someone called Kylian Mbappe now. So
Yeah.
what did you make of? Do you think his red card's going to play any? I know he's obviously not that he's suspended, because he's not, but just that, because clearly that was like an tackle out of anger of what he got sent off for. Do you feel that kind of weird moment, and obviously the extra maybe fitness expenditure on his teammates, because as a result changes anything?
It's a great question. Wasn't there also a report about Bellingham maybe getting in some fight in training? Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't. But
No, I will
I'll have
say
a look.
I think it was Talk Sports. I might be wrong, but there was something.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Okay.
I, I,
Hmm.
okay. There's definitely something
Oh,
about
here we
Real
go.
Madrid.
I'll read. So this is on the
Yeah, go.
Mail. Jude Bellingham involved in training ground bust up. Hold on. Need to disable this ad thing. Involved in training ground bust up with Real Madrid teammate just days before Champions League second leg. So Jude Bellingham was involved in a bust up with Antonio Rudiger, according to El Chiringuito. Is that the chaotic Spanish TV show?
I think
Is
it might be.
that Chiringuito? I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think it might be. The guy who used to do the Tic Tac thing and
Yeah,
live
yeah,
on
it
air.
is. It is
I
that
might
crazy Spanish show.
might be.
I don't know how accurate they are, but yeah, whatever. But yeah, apparently they had to be separated by teammates as tensions boiled over on Friday training. I mean, that happened before they played Alaves. So yeah.
Okay. So to answer your question, the reason I
Mm,
brought that up was I just wonder whether maybe the season's all getting a little bit to their heads, Real Madrid. Um, Look, I don't think it's a good sign for them. If I were a
mm,
Madrid fan, I wouldn't be thinking, "Oh wow, you've really inspired me." You know, Mbappe's just gone and put in one of the worst tackles we've ever seen. Completely lost his head on that challenge. Then now you've made everyone else have to run even further.
yeah.
But I also think footballers have this amazing ability to just not care. And I think they could just go out there. You know, think of the abuse they face all the time. Think of
Mm,
the constant pressure they're always under, the way they've got to live their lives. When they walk out on the Bernabeu, they see the Bernabeu, they see the big stage. You know, I think ultimately they'll lock in.
mm,
So but you raise a good question more about that fitness. Could it be their legs that start to go? Because they've had to work quite hard to get that win over the line. I didn't watch them. I don't know if they had to work particularly hard,
yeah, I
but you
didn't.
imagine with 10 men, you probably did. So yeah, it's a really good point there. I've got to say, awful tackle from Mbappe.
Mm,
Awful tackle. And no, I don't think he should be banned for this game because
no.
I think people will think that's what I'm implying. But not nasty one that, you know, and you kind of think we live in a world where that kind of thing is probably under is governed the word, you know. It's how long will we be out for? 3 games? Doesn't even
Yeah,
feel really enough. When you're talking about a couple of yellow cards can get you missing a game. I don't know.
yeah,
It's a pretty nasty one that I have to say.
yeah. I've always been on the side of like this argument that, and it's maybe a bit extreme, but a player that genuinely causes a serious injury should miss the same amount of time as the player that they injure.
Ooh,
Like, and it's radical, but players need more protection these days, you know. And I feel that that as a deterrent. Would it stop tackling in general? Because obviously, if I think it would have maybe it has to go to like a panel or something like that, where they determine whether or not there was genuine malice and intent which caused the player's injury, or whether or not it was just kind of innocuous. I mean, the Norgard tackle on Martinelli this weekend, for instance, I don't get how that's not a red card. Because, and I don't know if you watched Jamie Redknapp's post match stuff on Scott. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. But he basically said something along the lines of, you know, are we going to want to see if this is a red card? Are we going to see players sent off for this all the time? And I'm like, good, good. Of course we are, because they should be. That's the reason we send players off for these tackles, because we're meant to deter these
it's
tackles that
crazy.
could seriously injure players from happening. It's
It's
nuts.
so honestly, Tom, sometimes I just think, am I stupid? Do I live in a different world?
Yeah.
What people will really try and tell me that Declan Rice and Trossard deserve their second yellow cards. They'll really try and
Mm,
convince me of that. I appreciate
mm,
maybe Jamie Redknapp didn't. I don't know what his opinion on that was. So for all I know, he's being a little bit more consistent. But you know, I feel like there's constant justification for refereeing decisions. With that one, I think it's as clear as it gets. It's from behind, it's high, it's that scissor action we talk about, and it's with no intent to win the ball. He's not winning the ball there. That is
mm.
just to bring the player down. Yes, it's a red card. Yes, get off the pitch. You had no intention of winning the football. This
Yeah.
is where I think Simbins could come in. And a lot of
Yeah.
people think, yeah, but that only gives referees a cop out. Listen, I'd rather the guy did 15 minutes off the pitch than did nothing at all.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I'm sort of in this position where give them that middle ground where if they're not completely sure, then you know, at least they can put out the sin bin and we can kind of all get on with it 15 minutes later. That there was that tackle. There was the Tarkovsky one too. I mean, that is one where some will say he got the ball. I'll say he went to absolutely clean him out. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you don't have to do that. You know, winning the ball. The term winning the ball is often associated with have you touched it? Have you got to the ball and touched it? No. Have you won it? Have you claimed back possession, or have you I don't know what I'm trying to say. Maybe you've got the words for me. You're far better journalist than I am. But do you know what I mean? For me, winning
Yeah,
is you've come out, you've got the ball, you've come out with it. Now, I'm not saying you make a tackle and then it falls to the opposition player, so you didn't win it. But I'm saying in that particular situation, he's got to absolutely boot the ball
yeah,
away,
the
clean the
intention.
player out.
Yeah.
You technically won the ball, have you? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm talking nonsense.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's about the intention behind the tackle and the
Yeah,
intention. While he may aim to win the ball, it's so out of control. It's so stereotypical in kind of how he does it of tackles that have injured players. This scissor motion that we've talked about before. You know, it is a 2-footed challenge. You know, a 2-footed challenge doesn't just mean 2 feet together. Martinez, you know, jumping into a player's foot. That's not just what two players. It means when you're tackling with both feet and both feet wrap around a player, which can cause, if that
yeah,
foot is planted, can cause a leg to snap or a ligament to go. And it needs to be more deterred from.
yeah.
I don't know if there was any from they do usually ref watch, don't they, on Mondays? I know if they tackled that today, but
Well, I can only hope they haven't.
I've not come across any further talk about it because, you know, it was an Arsenal game, so it doesn't matter anymore. Here's the really mean bit. Scoreline, please, from the
Yeah,
Bernabeu.
so I think we're going to lose 2-1.
Okay,
But
great.
yeah,
I've
bite your
never been
hand
more
off.
happy for a
Yeah,
defeat.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
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 exactly. You know that little clip of me celebrating a draw? You wait to see how I celebrate
yeah.
this defeat.
That genuinely one of my favourite memes of
Well, I'm glad
from
you're all
AFT.
enjoying it.
Yes, well done.
Well, can
I
I ask you
love it.
something, Tom?
I love it, mate.
Was it not a great point or not?
No,
Because
100% it was. I
this
don't
is
know
what
why it got. I know why, dude, because that's the social media world we live
Sure.
in. But
Yeah.
it's like it was yourself and obviously Alex when he's doing the quiz with Jamie Carragher. Like
Oh,
for
poor
both of
guy.
you, my soul died a bit seeing that
Yeah.
happen. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh no, yeah,
Sometimes I find with social media, that clip in particular, some people use the clip because it's funny, and I'm like, look, have your fun. I totally get it. It is
yeah,
funny.
100%.
But some people use it as like a stick to beat us with. So some people
Yeah,
go,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
"Oh, Arsenal
Out of
celebrated the
context.
draw." It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
no, we didn't. I was happy we stayed ahead of Man City, and
yeah,
also the players didn't. I'm not the players. Like,
yeah,
it's like what?
yeah.
Anyway, that's my
It
only
was a
issue with
good
it.
result from a fan perspective. Like I wasn't home watching that game. Like, we had Kaya at the
Yeah,
game, and I remember being at home, and I was like, great. Like we've held them to a
yeah,
0-0.
yeah,
That's a great result at City. So yeah, I felt for you. I really did
yeah.
feel
It's
for
all
you.
right.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
2-1.
I need to
Celebrate that
start
like mad.
charging copyright or something on those.
I
Everybody
think you
uses
need
that clip.
if Arsenal do go through having not won the game, I think you need to do a carbon copy
I
of
will.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
nail home that point.
The
But
second
yeah.
version. I'll go for it. Let's do it.
I'm sure Chatbox, you're putting in all of your predictions as well, and let us know in the comment section after the show as well as finished as to what you think is going to happen. I'm going to go to, I'm going to go 2-0 Madrid, and it'd be like the most nervy last 5 minutes of our lives. It's hard to not think that Madrid won't win this game in the Bernabeu. It's
Yeah,
hard to see them scoring more than two because of not only their record recently, and
yeah.
also they didn't their clean sheet of the weekend was their first clean sheet since December. Something utterly nuts. Um,
Sounds about right. They
they've
hadn't
got
for ages. I know
they've
that.
got a very leaky defense prior to that game against Deportivo Alaves during that previous weekend. But yeah, very very strange. Just looking back over their results, obviously with the before that, it was the 3-0 game against Arsenal. They lost to Valencia, conceded 4 against Sociedad, 2 against Leganes, 1 against Villarreal, 1 against Atletico, 1 against they conceded 1 against Real Vallecano, 2 from Real Betis, who beat them. They did keep a clean sheet against Girona. Oh, that wasn't since December then. So they did manage to keep one against Girona. They won 2-0 against them. They conceded and drew against Osasuna. But effectively, the story there
Yeah,
is that, you know, they do concede and they have a
they
leaky
concede
defence.
goals.
And we have Bukayo Saka back and Martinelli in probably
Yeah,
some of his better form that we've seen of late
yeah. I
as
think he's
well.
looked good.
And a striker who isn't a striker, who scored 6 in his last 9 goals, 9 games playing in that position madly. So, yeah, it's going to be
What dreams are
exciting.
made
Maybe
of.
2-0. Indeed. Maybe 2-0 is a bit harsher. Maybe I'll stick with 2-1 and go with
God,
it.
let's do it, man. The semi-final. How great would that be?
Crazy. James, absolute pleasure as always. Good to catch up and speak with you again. Tell the people where they can find you and what projects you've got. I think is it a new podcast you've got coming up as well?
Look, thank you, Tom, for having me first and foremost. So I'm doing obviously I've got you see me on AFTV celebrating draws. I've got the Gooniverse, which you've obviously been a part of. I've also got, weirdly, and I think appropriately named, the Gooniverse 2, which is basically just a second channel where I just kind of do instant reaction. It's not edited, nothing fancy to it. There's just a lot of reports and rumors that are doing the rounds daily, as you know, because obviously you cover them every 8 a.m. So I'm just sort of giving really quick kind of reactions to it every now and again. But yeah, that's kind of that. Just talking Arsenal a lot. And in the last month with Berta, Real Madrid, all that, there's been a little bit more to talk about. So it's been good fun.
James, been an absolute pleasure, mate. Make sure, listeners, that you are subscribed to the Gooniverse. You can find James over there, and of course, with his contributions to AFTV. Also, I always say you're the best contributor over there, and I think many of our listeners always tend to agree as well. They're big fans of you. So they're not spreading memes, that's for sure. They're celebrating them. But thank you, listeners, for listening. I very much appreciate you being here. Apologies, it wasn't the usual normal live show, but I think you've been well treated in today's edition anyway. Will be live from Madrid on Wednesday morning, having a more detailed look at the game and doing our usual preview of the lineups and all of that. Of course, it will be 8 a.m. UK time. It will be 9 a.m. Spanish time that will be doing that show. But yeah, looking forward to getting out there. Never been to Madrid before myself, meaning never been to the Bernabeu. Have you been to Madrid, James, before?
Yeah, I have been. Yeah, class.
I hear very good things about the city.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good night out.
Yeah, we'll see. See if there's time after Mikel's presser for any.
Probably won't be, but you'll find. Actually, best thing about the Spanish is they go out till like 5, 6 a.m. So you know what? Just work till midnight. You got a good night with the Arsenal fans. We hope anyway.
It is. The weather is not meant to be great. That is the bad thing. Unfortunately, it's like rain on Tuesday and then rain on Wednesday. All throughout the evening there'll be rain. It'll be a rainy game. So,
wow! Well, they're shutting the roof though. So
they are. Oh yes, very true. They're shutting the roof. So
humid old day. Anyway, let me stop talking. Sorry, carry on.
It's all good, man. Thank you ever so much, everyone, for listening. Really appreciate your time. We'll see you again very, very soon. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.